Elias was born in a forgotten village where life moved slowly, and hope moved even slower. The land was old, the houses were made of mud and straw, and people lived from the little the earth allowed them. His family's home was a small clay hut, with cracks running across the walls like scars from a long battle. The roof was covered with dried grass, and every time it rained, water dripped in thin, cold lines onto the dirt floor. Poverty was not just a condition here, it was a companion, a shadow that followed every villager from birth till death. Elias's father worked the fields for a wealthy landowner who owned half the valley. Day after day, he bent his back under the harsh sun, earning just enough to buy bread and lentils. His mother stitched torn clothes for villagers, and sometimes exchanged her work for vegetables instead of money. They survived, but barely. When Elias was 10, a freezing winter struck the valley. Crops died, animals perished, and sickness spread like a silent wind. His father fell ill, too weak to lift tools, too weak to stand. They had no doctor, no medicine, and no way to save him. By spring, his father had become a ghost of himself. Elias watched helplessly as the strongest person he knew faded away. That winter didn't just take his father's health, it crushed the little stability the family had. At 12 years old, Elias stepped into adulthood. He woke up before the first rooster's cry, tied torn sandals to his feet, and walked to the fields to take his father's place. The ground was hard, the wind sharp, and the landowner unforgiving. Elias worked until his back ached and his hands blistered. But no matter how hard he tried, his wages were so small that they disappeared as quickly as he earned them. One afternoon, after a long day of labor, Elias approached the landowner to ask for a small raise, something to help him buy medicine for his father. The old man laughed, tossed 2 small coins toward him, and said, "Boys like you, stay where they're born. Don't dream too high." Then he turned away without waiting for a response. The humiliation cut deeper than any blade. Elias picked up the coins slowly, swallowing the fire rising inside him. That night, while sitting beside his father, who was coughing under a thin blanket, Elias made a silent promise to himself, one he would carry for the rest of his life. "I will rise. No matter how long it takes, I will rise." As the weeks passed, Elias searched desperately for another way to earn money. He helped farmers carry grain, fetched water from the river, cleaned stables, and collected firewood. But small coins collected slowly. His family needed something bigger, something life-changing. One evening, while walking through the village square, Elias heard the rhythmic tapping of tools coming from a workshop. It was the old potter, Master Aldrich, shaping clay on a spinning wooden wheel. His hands moved with slow, steady grace, molding the soft clay into smooth, elegant shapes. The workshop smelled of soil, smoke, and years of experience. Elias stood at the doorway, mesmerized. Master Aldrich glanced at him and said in his rough, cracked voice, "What do you want, boy?" Elias stepped forward. "Teach me," he said. "I'll work for you. I'll clean your tools, fetch water, anything. Just teach me to shape clay." The old man raised an eyebrow. "Clay is stubborn," he said. "It breaks easily, and so do boys who think they're stronger than life." "I don't break," Elias replied quietly. The potter studied him for a long moment before nodding slowly. "Come tomorrow," he said, "at dawn." The next morning, Elias arrived before the sun colored the sky. Master Aldrich handed him a bucket and pointed toward the river. "Bring clay," he said. And so began Elias's second life, a life of grit, pain, and discovery. Training under Aldrich was brutal. Clay was heavy. Kneading it required strength he didn't know he possessed. Shaping it required patience he didn't think he had. His fingers cracked, his nails filled with dirt, his back stiffened, and many of his first pots collapsed before they dried. Every failure hurt. Every broken pot felt like a personal insult. But Elias did not quit. He worked in the fields during the day and in the workshop at night, his tired body trembling, but his heart burning with purpose. He listened carefully to every word Master Aldrich said. "Feel the clay," the old man would say. "Don't force it, guide it, respect it." Months passed, and Elias's hands grew steadier. His pots, once crooked and weak, began to take shape. Round, balanced, beautiful. Villagers noticed. A farmer bought a water jug. A mother bought a cooking pot. Slowly, copper coins began to fill a small pouch Elias hid beneath a floorboard in his hut. One day, a wealthy merchant passing through the village saw Elias's work displayed outside the workshop. He picked up a clay jar, turned it in his hands, and said, "Who made this?" Alden pointed at Elias. "The boy." The merchant smiled. "I want 10 jars like this. Delivered in 1 week. I'll pay double." It was the chance Elias had been praying for. For 7 days and nights, he barely slept. He shaped clay until his wrists throbbed. He fired the pots carefully, afraid a single crack would ruin everything. When the merchant returned and saw the finished work, he was stunned. He kept his promise and paid handsomely. Elias walked home with the money tied tightly in a cloth. When he showed it to his mother, her eyes filled with tears. "Your father will be proud," she whispered. With the new income, Elias bought better food, medicine for his father, and small gifts for his siblings. Hope, for the first time, entered their home like light through an open window. Years passed. Elias became a master potter, known far beyond his village. He eventually opened a larger workshop. He hired young men who struggled as he once did. He trained them with patience, encouraging them to believe in themselves. "Clay breaks when you lose focus," he'd say. "So does life. Stay centered." The village transformed because of him. People who once lived in despair now had work, dignity, and purpose. Even the old landowner, who once insulted him, came to buy a set of fine clay dishes for his daughter's wedding. He didn't recognize Elias, but Elias recognized him. "Do you make these yourself?" the landowner asked. "Yes," Elias replied calmly. "They're excellent," the man said. "Name your price." Elias named a fair price, and the man paid without question. That moment wasn't revenge. Elias didn't need revenge. His success spoke louder than anger ever could. As Elias grew older, he bought land at the edge of the valley, built a home for his mother, a workshop for his craftsmen, and a community space for children to learn. He traveled to distant towns, selling his pottery and gaining respect wherever he went. His name became known as a symbol of skill, discipline, and humility. But despite his wealth, Elias never forgot the boy he once was, the boy who stood barefoot in a field, hearing that he would never rise. That memory kept him grounded. It fueled his desire to help others climb their own mountains. Every sunrise, he still worked with clay, feeling its cool texture beneath his fingers. It reminded him of where he began and how far he had come. Clay had tested him, broken him, shaped him, and finally made him whole. As he watched the young men in his workshop talk, laugh, and build their futures, Elias felt a deep peace settle in his chest. His father's last words echoed in his memory. "A man is not measured by what he owns, but by what he builds." Elias had built more than pots. He had built a life from nothing. He had built hope in a place where hope once starved. He had built strength in a heart that had once been filled with fear. Most importantly, he had built himself. His story became a quiet legend in the region, a tale told by parents to their children at night, that no soil is too hard, no poverty too deep, no life too broken to rise again, if a person has discipline, patience, and the courage to never give up. And so, the boy who once collected clay with trembling hands became a man whose work touched countless lives. His legacy lived on long after him, molded into every pot, every jug, every brick of the village he helped rebuild. Because Elias proved one timeless truth. Strength is not something you find. It is something you shape, just like clay. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories inspired by Eric Bertrand Larsson.